Okay, so hi everyone. Good morning. I hope no one else is joining. We have full. So I gave you one task last Friday about creating some of the fields, making them mandatory and non-mandatory. Uh, have anyone done that or any questions regarding that? Making some of the fields mandatory.
Yes, Guru, I have done that.
Okay. Any questions you have or any problems you faced during that?
Oh, no, Guru.
Okay, about the second one, which was making the assigned to field mandatory when state was having some different
Mm.
conditions. So is that also done?
Yeah, using that UA policy, I have done that.
Okay.
Yeah, is there any other way we can do that, Gaurav? Like I wanted to ask that. We using UI policies we have done. I have done.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of different ways you can make things work, but yeah, the best approach is the UI policy only.
No.
And so can any one of you show your configuration? Let's say starting with UI policy only. Can anyone show?
Okay, I am sharing my screen.
Okay. Let me wait. Let me allow you to share. Yeah, now you can share.
My screen is visible, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I make it that fields it told mandatory. I have made the mandatory fields, and here, if we make the instance new, it is not
Closed.
unclosed. It should mandatory in
Yeah. Other
progress.
than new and cancel, it should become mandatory, and everything. If it is
Yeah,
new
when
or
I click
cancel, it should
new,
be.
it's not mandatory.
Mhm.
And cancelled, it is not mandatory. When I click resolve or anything, it should
Yes.
be mandatory, right?
Yes, that is correct. So the other thing that we can work on is, let me now share my screen. Um, I hope you guys can see it. Uh, so we're on incident form. Uh, okay. So the ask was to create some of the fields mandatory and one field which is assigned to based on some condition which says if the state is not new or cancelled, it should become mandatory. That means it should be becoming mandatory for in progress, on hold, resolved, and everything. So the quick thing you could have done is yeah, you can configure the dictionary and you can see, okay, I can just go and make this thing mandatory, but there was a condition. The condition was the same thing. To apply that thing. So if you directly make this mandatory, so the main concern I had was, see, this field is coming from task table. So let me now explain you one thing. Yeah, for this condition, it was UI policy, and you guys have done it correctly. But there are other things we can tend to see and apply, and we have to be careful whenever we're making something mandatory. So the base table in ServiceNow mm, is task table. So any table that is created, let's say incident, problem, and change, everything is coming or extending its fields and all of these behavior from the parent table, which is task table. So task table is the parent table for every other, and others like incident, problem, change, configuration, and all these things are these are extending the task table. Let me show you what I actually mean by this. So if you go back, uh, let's say if you open task dot list with a similar way dot list, we can now open any of these things, and we look for any of the thing that is starting with task. So we will open one task actually. So this is one task. This is the task table. This is the core table of ServiceNow, or the base table we can say, and you can see it is having all of the fields: number, having assigned to, configuration item, active, priority, state, and some short descriptions, description, work notes, and all of these things. So initially everything started with a task table. Everything in ServiceNow is actually a task, and whenever we tend to create tables, let's say we created these people created incident, application, and problem and change, everything they created, they usually what they do is they don't tend to go and create every field on their own. They try to inherit the fields. They extend a table which is a task table, so that the work is actually minimal for them. So it brings all of the pre-created fields which task table have. Let's say number, it has category, subcategory, configuration item, it has all these state and priority, short description. So these are the things that are there present in the task table, and we tend to inherit them. So while doing any of the changes, let's say making some things mandatory and non-mandatory, you'll have to be careful uh, whether that particular field is coming from a task table or not. Let's say I try to let's say I try to make this thing pantry field which we created, try to make pantry field as mandatory. So I can just go directly right click configuration, configure field, and configure dictionary, and click on this mandatory. What it will do is this pantry field is limited to incident table only. So whenever it becomes mandatory, it will only be limited to the incident table. So if I make this mandatory, it will do nothing. It will make this particular field mandatory because this is on incident table, and we're good to go. We can directly go and click on this mandatory checkbox, and it will be helpful. If you go back, you can see now pantry is actually mandatory because this was actually created on incident table. But if you try to look and create some of the fields which are extended from a task table, let's say configuration item. If you try to configure the dictionary of this field configuration item, you will have to look at it carefully, that which table it is actually coming from. So we configured it from incident table, but you see when we click configure, it is showing us the name of the table as task. So what will happen is when you will now make this configuration item field mandatory on the task, which was actually on the task tables, and do a save, what will happen is it will make it mandatory on all of the tables: incident, problem, change, task, and everything. So we made a configuration item mandatory, right? And now if you refresh this task table, this will also be becoming mandatory on this one. So this is not required because we were supposed to work only on incident table, and now we're impacting every other table also. So let me go back and show you what I'm actually saying. If you look at problem table, let's say problem new, and this new problem form is opened, you will see configuration item is also mandatory right now over here in problem table. And if you look at change table, create new change, and you will see this CI configuration item is now also mandatory for change table. Let me just go and create a new one. Let's say a normal change. You see configuration item became mandatory on this form also, but this was not supposed to happen because we were only working on incident form. We made one field mandatory on incident form, but it impacted every other field. So this is incident form. If we'll give a refresh, it will now become mandatory. So this is not required. So you'll have to be careful on, let's say, on any of the field you're making some changes, like making it mandatory or read only, or display or active or inactive something, which table it is actually coming from. Yeah, we configured it, we saw it was present on incident table, but it is actually getting inherited from task table, because task table is the parent table for all of these. It is the base table, and all other tables are actually inheriting it. So whatever changes you make on task table fields, it will be, you know, set down to all the child tables that are actually inheriting that. So if you configure, go back and configure table. Let me show you. If you configure the whole incident table, configure, let's say configure table. This incident table we're trying to configure, making some change. We see that the table is actually incident, but it extends the table task. So all of the fields that are there on task table will also be, coming in this incident table. So that's why we'll have to be very careful whenever we're trying to make some things mandatory, non-mandatory. And now we've made that thing inactive, right? We've unchecked that mandatory box. If you now refresh task, it will be becoming non-mandatory. If you now refresh change it, the CI will also become non-mandatory. So the thing is, now what should we do actually to make our
Gaurav,
mm,
anyway, we are in that mandatory, right? I wanted to ask you one question. Like, how can we make that star red color? Like, for few
yeah,
fields, it is here.
yeah. So let's say for few fields you're seeing it is
Yes.
black colored, and for few fields it is red color. It is just because that particular thing is not yet selected, or there is no value into it. So if you now select one value in pantry, it will now become black.
Okay.
Anything, any mandatory field which is empty, it will show you in red. Yeah, this is empty, please fill this. And if it has some value, it will turn out to be black.
Okay. Got it.
So we were seeing what should we do actually. So if I come up to you that, okay, everyone, please make this configuration item field, or make this assigned to field which are actually coming from incident table. So call which are actually coming from task table, to make this field only mandatory on task on incident table and not on other tables. So what you can actually do for this? uh, Initially we tend to go configure dictionary of this and making it mandatory, but this will not work because this will impact the task table. So if it is impacting task table, it will further impact all other extended tables. So that is not a way. What we'll have to do is we'll actually have to override the dictionary. So this concept is very much necessary, and this will be asked every time in the interview, or almost 90% of the time dictionary override will be asked. So if you're working on incident table, someone asked you to do changes on some of the fields, it should not impact other fields, uh, which it extends the fields from. Let's say it is coming from task table or problem table or change table, it should only be related to that thing, that table only. Let's say incident table you're working on. So to make that thing mandatory only on incident table and not impact other table, you'll have to do dictionary override. And in dictionary override, there is one what do you say, one entry of incident. So if you click on this incident table, now I want to do what? I want to override the mandatory field only on the incident form. I will don't want to impact other task tables, other problem change, and all other tables that are actually extending that task table. So the application is global base table is task, you see, and the current table we're working on incident table, and the column name is this CMDBCI, which is actually a configuration item field. Override the reference qualifier, we can override. What else do we want to override? I want to override the mandatory, right? Override read only, override display value, and you can override other things also. When you override mandatory and make it mandatory, and do a save, what you will see is now this configuration item field became mandatory only on incident form and not on other forms. Let's say problem. I open problem also. One tab opened incident, one tab opened problem. So you see on problem table configuration item is not mandatory, but on this table, incident table, it is now mandatory. Why? Because we have written one dictionary override entry. Dictionary override is saying it is coming from base table. You are impacting incident table and overriding the mandatory thing, the mandatory functionality. And if you try to open some other table, let's say we're trying to go on basic task table only, and look for, so all of these are actually tasks. See, you've opened task list, but change is also a task, incident is also a task, problem is also a task. Let's say PRB, number starts with PRB, problem is also a task, and task itself is a task. So if you open one task record, it is not mandatory on change, it is not mandatory on task, and it is also not it is mandatory on incident, it is not mandatory on problem. So we have overridden this functionality and we've made it available only on incident table. So this thing is very much important. Please look at this thing carefully. Whenever you're trying to make something mandatory on one form, try to make sure it is not impacting other forms. How you will make sure? You will see what table you're actually impacting on, or if that field is written on task table, please try to use dictionary override. So coming on this incident form, if I want to make summary as mandatory or read only or any other thing, I can just directly configure dictionary. I can see, okay, this is only impacting on written on incident table. I'm good. I can directly make it mandatory, right? Because I will not be impacting other tables. I will only be impacting incident table. So this is one thing you'll have to keep in mind every time you try to make something mandatory, not mandatory, or read only. Give me a second. Any questions onto this? Okay, so yeah, you might have done it very well and making assign to field as mandatory on basis of state value. I'm just quickly trying to show you how you can actually do that. Configure the UI policies, and you can just click on a new and quickly write one UI policy which says make assign to field mandatory on some conditions. Okay, it's very slow today. So the filter that you'll have to apply is, the condition is when state is not one of new and cancelled. And what you'll have to do is you'll have to save this one. So this now creates our UI policy. We'll have to create one UI policy action to actually implement. So we have put up the condition. We have said that state is not one of these two. Oops. It actually selected one only. Let me now select both of them. State is not one of new and cancelled. Yeah, we have new selected and we have cancelled selected. Yeah, and now you have to write one UI policy action, which you can say make this particular field which is assigned to. And you see, this is only impacting on this particular incident table. It will fetch you the fields of the incident table, and you can just go find assigned to and make this guy as mandatory true. So try to, okay. How UI policy basically works is UI policy makes fields mandatory, read only, and visible. So UI policy is very much used for this thing, making some fields mandatory, read only, and visible. You don't have to write
Only
any
for
script,
only for these three.
only for these three. And yeah, one more thing is clearing the value. You can also clear the value whenever you want to, but these are the major three things UI policy is used for. You can write the script in client policy, client script, but whenever or wherever possible, please try to work with configuration only, and don't or resist yourself to actually writing some of the script until or unless it is very much necessary. If you find any option, if you find two options, writing a script and doing it with configuration, try to go with configuration only, selecting the options and making these things. There is no need of going and writing a script because there might be a possibility of making errors. So try to go with configuration. One thing is, you see this red icon over here in this UI policy action. This red icon, why it is coming? Because possibly there is another thing or another UI policy that is written on this assigned to field, which is already there active and working. So let me just try, and let's first of all look at the incident table and try to make our changes when the field was not new or not that guy, which means in progress or on hold. This should become mandatory. Yes. That red dot was coming, possibly some of the UI policy also working on the same field, uh, getting collided. So what is happening is, let's say filter by updated. Yeah, this is mine, and you see, make assignment group and all of these things have many of the fields have a same order, which is 100. That means they're running at the same time. Order is the order of running a particular UI policy or a client script, in which order you want to actually make them work. So smallest is the one which will actually, allow you to work instantly or in the number one. So from smaller to bigger, it is the first one and the last one that will be executed first or executed last. So let's now try to make a change into the order. You can make changes with any number, whichever comes in your mind, but try to change the orders in multiples of 100, because it will be very much useful for you in future to put up other things in between that order. Let's say I make an order of 250 for this guy. So I changed the order. I made it 250. So one UI policy is running on order 100, another is running on 200, one is running on 250, right? So if you now look at that particular red thing, it will now be removed probably. Go back to the dictionary entry, UI policy. If I now open the UI policy, on the UI policy action, I will not see that red icon now because I have changed the orders and others were collided with that particular order. So we are over here, let it load. Yeah, we don't see it right now. So that's how the orders actually work. Why we are giving it in multiples? Because let's say your business asks you to create 5 more UI policies or scripts that should be working after this one. So you have a space of actually providing it with a number of 230,
So
let's
if
say
we did not give
220.
any order, it will take by default.
By default it will take 100. Yeah.
So in that order only it will run the
Yes,
policy.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
you can also give it orders in 1, 2, 3, 4 like this, but there will not be any further scope to, let's say one script is running on order one and other script is running on order two. Let's say order two. Now, someone asks you to please add one more script which should be running in between this. So there is no space at all left. You cannot give it as order 1.5. So that's why we tend to go with hundreds, right? Hundreds and 200s and 300s,
So
so that
first it
anything
will
can come up.
first will run that our
100. Yeah.
okay. After that
First
it
it will
will
run hundreds, all the hundreds will be run, then it will go for next order 200, 300, 400. Now first this 10 will be running.
yes.
So smallest will run first and the largest will run later. So this is one order thing, and we have shown dictionary override also. And so one quick thing that I want you guys to do is, uh, so this category and subcategory and all of these things. So the requirement is to, in this category option, we are able to select these options, right? Category field, we are able to select inquiry, help, software, hardware, and everything. The question is, how do you make this inquiry slash help option, which we're selecting from the drop down? Please disable this option so that I no longer will be able to select this option on incident form. Any quick answers on this? How would it go and disable some options and add some more options? So the next question will be adding a category, a different category, let's say uh, adding a new category out of this 5 into this category field. Give me one option. Disable this inquiry help, add one category option. How can you do that? So to do that, you'll have to go right click and configure the dictionary. And when you configure the dictionary of this particular field, you see this field is on incident table. The label of this field is category, name is category, and there are 5 choices. The inquiry and help and everything, and it is saying inactive as false. What you can do is make it inactive as true, because we don't want this. Now, what will happen is whenever a person try to select that particular category option, he will not be able to select it because we have made it inactive. So this is a new incident form. Okay, it is coming there. Probably something. Okay, yeah. So in the default value, it was mentioned as inquiry and help. So try to remove this and give it a different default value. Let's say give it a default value of network, or don't even give it any default value. So now whenever you will reload this form, you will see that inquiry slash help was actually made disabled. Oh, come on. Is it not saved? Let me open on the list. Okay, yeah. So you can see we don't see inquiry slash help anymore, and network is set as default option. So what we have done is we just went to that field choices and we have inactivated this particular option. Now the question is to adding a few more options in category field. Let's say I want to add one option which is saying office infra. So one more option should be added which says office infra to be added, giving it a value. So this is only the label which you people will be able to see, and this thing will be the actual value which ServiceNow will read. And I will give it a sequence of 6. Sequence in that particular sequence, that list will be displayed. If you try to reload now, you will see that you're able to see office infra as an option, and other inquiry slash help is now disabled. So we have added one option in this particular field. In the drop down value, we've added one option which is office infra. Now the subcategory should be actually dependent on, let's add a few subcategories also in this subcategory field. So guys, I want you to add 5 subcategories, five choices in the subcategory field. um, how would you actually do? Can anyone guide me to there?
Same config
Right
dictionary.
click and configure the dictionary. So I'm now trying to configure dictionary of this field subcategory. Yes, I saw that it is on incident table only, and the field is subcategory only. And where now I should go?
Choices.
Choices. Okay. So yes, we have 19 choices for this. We want to add few more. Let's try to add few more. Let's say I want to add one choice, which is meeting room, and give it a name of meeting underscore room. And you can also add the choice with this new button, but we're just directly adding it from the list view. So adding a choice from the new button, you can say it is getting added on incident table. The element is actually subcategory, and you can now add the second choice, which is security gate, and the value will be, you can try to give any of the value which the system can actually read.
And you need to
Secure.
add the dependent value also.
Yes, exactly. You will have to add the dependent value. What is a dependent value is, so we've added two options, two choices in this subcategory field. Incident, opening one incident. Let's try to create a new one. And you see we have this office infra, and we don't see these values in subcategory, but we added two values, right? Meeting room and the other one, security gate, but we don't see it over here. Why? Because the dependent value was actually not filled for this guy. So one was let's filter by updated. These are the two. So every other option have a dependent value, but our newly created option doesn't have a dependent value. So what should be the dependent value for this guy? Let's say it should be office infra. So I try to give office infra in the dependent value. It should be office underscore infra, because this is an actual name. Don't go with the label. And this should also be office underscore infra. Correct. Okay. So we have saved it. Now, whenever we try to reload, we will see that these two options are coming whenever we select office infra, only these two options are coming. So that's how you can add some of the choices in choice fields. So
Gaurav, I have one doubt here. We are having that reference variable, right? For assignment, we are having the reference.
yes,
So for reference means generally we'll get from the user list or any table will get that items. So
correct.
those items will not see in the choice list.
These items will not come up in a choice list, you mean to say?
Yeah, yeah.
They can definitely, but we'll have to actually, configure this a little bit. Let's say, let me try to add one field, configure. Let's say I'm trying to configure the table. I will try to add one field, which will be a reference field. Type will be reference, and the column name will be something like this, and referencing what's this user table. And save it. The options from the drop down, I don't believe you can, but yeah, we have some of the choices from user table. You can add some choices. Let's say I have created this reference field and I try to create some choice. So what will happen? This reference field will not work like a reference field. It will now work as a drop down list for you with these two options. Let's just try to see what is actually happening. User 2 and user 2. So now if you open incident form, try to create a new one. Yeah, my reference is there. You try to look up. No, it is only referencing this user table. It will not cater your choices. So to make them available in the drop down, you cannot do it for the reference field. There are other fields you can actually try to select, but reference field will actually take the reference from this particular table only.
Yeah, but my question is here is like just go up, uh, go to that any incident.
Okay.
So here assignment group is depends on assigned to, right?
No, assigned to is actually dependent on assignment group.
Yeah, okay. But we are not there is no choices and we are not giving any dependent values also over there. But if you want to like customize that one, or if I want to add some more means we cannot do that.
Can you repeat the question again? I didn't got it properly.
Just go to assignment group dictionary.
Uh-huh.
Not assign yeah, assign to or assignment, anything is fine.
So this is assignment group dictionary coming from task table. This is a reference field.
Here go to advanced view and dependent value, dependent field. So,
For assign to, let me go for assign to. Wait. Yeah, assigned to will take a dependent value from assignment group.
yeah.
So if you now try to configure assign to with advanced values or advanced options, you can see there is a dependent value which says assignment group.
But if I want, there is no choices here.
Yeah, there are no
So
choices
if
here.
I want to customize anything, if I want to add a different value, can't we do that?
What kind of different value do you want? Okay, so this particular thing, let me show you. Wait, where is the incident form? How it is happening is, see, there are multiple things written over here. So this assigned to field is actually taking the value of the reference qualifier from assignment group.
Design.
Whenever you select something in assignment group, let's say you select hardware, so it will
Basing on
take
this
this
value,
value
we'll
of
get here.
hardware. Yeah, this
We
it will
give
take this value of hardware, apply the filter of assigned to. This is category. This is assigned to. Into the reference specification, there is a filter using a simple filter, roles as ITIL, and some other filters you can apply and take the dependent value from this guy. So let me show you. One thing is dependent value. There was one option also which was saying no dependent assigned to advanced. What change do you want to make over here?
just
I'm
I wanted to know, like, if any reference tables are there, like if you are getting the values from the reference table,
Mhm.
how can we make that particular? So these
Yeah,
are assignment group assigned to are fine; those are already defined. But
correct,
if
correct.
get any new field here
Mhm.
using any reference table, if I want to make that table as a dependent to the other table, how can we do that?
So let's say you have selected one option in category which says hardware,
Yeah.
right? So, and in this reference field, you only want to see those users which are coming from hardware group. So how we can actually do is using the reference qualifier. Instead of using this assigned to assignment group or anything, I say if someone selects category as hardware, then
Okay.
in this reference field, only show me those users that are associated or part of hardware group. How you can actually do that is right click and do the reference qualifier and right click configure dictionary.
Yeah,
In this
here we are
reference,
having the choice list and
yeah, in this
group.
reference qualifier, if you click on advanced view, so making it as a instead of making it as a simple reference qualifier, you can say that it can be a dynamic or advanced reference qualifier, and dynamic reference qualifier value will be coming from you can either provide a dynamic filter option, or you can directly go to advanced and put up your reference qualifier which says so we'll have to build this qualifier. Wait, what table we were looking at is sys underscore user dot list. So what do we want to find is we want to find the users which have the group. Let's say boom. Okay, open a new window in the group member table. Group members table. The group is this guy. So I will say remove everything, and in the group member table, the user is this. Okay. In the group member table, the group is that thing. So let's say hardware. I'm now building this particular filter. Show me all of the users which belongs to hardware group. How I can do it is show matching, build one filter. This filter is now built, which says group is equal to hardware, and copy this particular query, paste this query in my notepad for reference. It says group is this guy. So what I will do is where is my that field which I was working? Yeah, U reference. In this U reference field, let me just remove everything. Task is not required, incident is not required. Yeah, this was the reference field, new reference field. And instead of looking from group members, users, user table, which says, do we have something which called as group, or show the related fields on users? We don't have a direct relation, but we have a reference relation on the users field. Okay, let's not even go here on this user. So instead of fetching from users table, let me fetch from group, which is this particular group. Group member table, and in the advanced reference qualifier, I say that current dot what was that field on incident table? Current dot category. Current dot category. Value is hardware. Then I will try to go with this guy. So whatever value is coming in this thing. So how you will actually build this particular reference qualifier, what I'm trying to do over here is I'm trying to make one filter which says whatever the value that is coming inside the category field, if it is coming as hardware, please show me all of the groups that are coming from hardware group. So then we can, change this filter, and we can just go and filter the users table, which will say, show me all of the users that are member of this particular hardware group. Then you can actually, filter this. Uh, this will require a lot of time because it is going to be a little complex. But you can actually see whenever someone selects, what you will do is whenever someone selects hardware from here, now this should actually show you all of the users that belong to hardware groups. So that's how we can actually apply this advanced reference qualifier. uh, I can make it for you tomorrow, and I will show you how this actually works. Right now, it will take a lot of work, and whole class will be, disturbed into this.
But we cannot like it is not possible, right? We cannot get the reference values in the choice list.
In the choice list, these kind of choice list, no, you'll have to
Yeah.
actually make.
Yeah.
You have to make these choices explicitly.
Okay. Got you.
Uh, I think I understood your question something different. I am actually filtering these users based on some different choice. So coming to a different thing, another thing is, what was it? Yeah, adding subcategories and all these things are done. Let me quickly create uh, one application, closing all of these things. Now the requirement is we're going to create one particular application which says meeting room application. We'll try to, create one application. Let's try to. So there are multiple methods. We can use App Engine Studio also. We can use Studio and other things to create one. But let's try to create one simple application, which is a simple table. So from tables, we will create one table. So we are creating this in global application only. The name of this will be meeting room. Or do we have something which says meeting room? No, we don't. So we are creating one table with the name of meeting room. Do you want to add a module to the menu? Yes, and new menu name will be meeting room. This extends what table? Now this is the table extension I was actually trying to show you. So do you want to extend some of the fields from a different table, which can be any table? Let's say, do you want to extend task table? Do you want to extend incident table, problem? Why extending a table is recommended? Because you don't have to create everything from scratch. So right now I'm not extending any of the table, I'm just trying to create some things, some fields manually. So saving this, one particular table is now created. Table name is meeting room. You see, I just saved, provided a name, and these columns are automatically you know populated. These columns are the default column that are there whenever a new table gets created. You will definitely see these fields. Created will be created by system. Updated sys id is the 32 character unique number given to every record in ServiceNow. Created by, updated, and updates. All of these 6 fields will automatically gets created whenever you create a table. So you don't you will only have to create your own fields. Now what will happen is, if you try to look for meeting
This
room, you see,
table is like we can use this table in uh, all items. I mean, like changes, incidents, anywhere.
mm, this table, no, this table is a custom table that we have just created. This is
Okay.
a new table, just like an incident table, problem table, change table, task table, anything. We have just created one more new table, which
Okay.
says the name of the table is meeting room. And you can see this. So this table, whenever you create a table, it will, you can find it from the left hand navigator option. If you try to find with the table name actually meeting room, you can see this application got created and this is the module. And if you try to edit this particular application, you can use this pencil icon and you can edit it. This is the meeting room application inside the global scope. Roles are these, categories are these, and the module is meeting room. One module which says the list of the meeting room. This is the list of the record. This is what? A list of the record. All something like this you were seeing as an incident list. This is also showing the list of the record. Similarly, this particular thing will also show you the list of the record. Now what we trying to do is, we're trying to add some of the fields in this particular table. So this is a table. By default 6 fields are there. Now I am trying to add one fields one by one into this. So one field that we will add is type of a reference field first. The name of the field will be requested for. So the person who is actually requesting this particular meeting room application. So I have created one. It will take the reference from which same sys user table, sys underscore user, and this is the table. And when you will actually save it, now when you try to find meeting rooms, you will be opening a list, and whenever you create a new record, you will see one field is added, which is saying requested for. And you can do what? You can search the users whatever you want to from this particular reference field. So this is not required right now. Let's just create another one. One field is done. Go back to configure the field. Go back again. So you see now we have 7 fields. 6 were created by system. One field was added. We can see an X icon which says this thing was added by the user. So the requested for is actually added. The second thing is second field we want to add is requested for. Let's say now I want to add a choice, which will actually give me the choice of the meeting rooms that I want to finally book. So this will allow the user to actually select the meeting room from the drop down choice they want to select, and they can select the meetings room from there. So this is created. Let me create one choice which says so what is happening is, you refresh this right now. Second field is created, which is a drop down choice. You can select the room which you want to actually book. So let's just ground floor 1, the value will be gf1, and let's just give it a sequence of 1. And what we'll do is save. The second choice we'll try to create is the ground floor 2 and 2. What we'll do is we're just renaming that thing, and we'll do insert and stay. and we will change the sequence also for this guy, because that sequence was also one and this particular field sequence is also one. So you'll refresh, you will see two options, ground floor 1, ground floor 2. Let's just select ff1, which is first floor 1, ff2, uh, sequence number 3, will give it sequence 3, and do insert and stay, not save, because if you save it will actually rename that other value. So we have third choice created, first floor 1, and similarly we can do second floor 2, second floor 1, second floor 2, whatever. Oh, oh, and do an insert and stay to this. So we have created four options, four of the meeting rooms to select from the choice list. You can select anything. Let's just go back and see whether all the options are actually correct. Yeah, so this was the field, choice field, having these value SF1, FF, okay, this should be FF1 actually, the value, and GF1 and GF2. Okay, so this is also created, and now let's create one more field which says attendees or attendants of this particular meeting room. You can actually select multiple users from that. Okay, so I'm just using this configure dictionary option or configure table from this thing. And now let's create a third field which says the type will be do we have multi-select? No. Choice, condition, currency. List. So I will select the type of list. I will show you what is actually list type field. Uh, Participants, you can say. It will take the name and I will give it a save. So I have created one field which is participants in this meeting room application. And you can see this field is somewhat looking like this. From participant, you can actually select anything you want. So let's just go to participant. This is the one we were configuring. This is the type of list field, reference qualifier, and take the participant from what? Sys underscore user table. How a list type is different from a reference type, you will see right now is a reference will allow you to select one value, but list, or what we call as glide list, will actually allow you to select multiple options. This is a type of glide list or list type. So let's say I select user 1 or user any of the user, let's say user 2. I selected one meeting room first floor 1, and how many participants I can select is I can select any of them I want to. 1 is selected, 2 is selected, 3 is selected, or anything I want to. I can take a reference from this user table. These will be the participants and save. So I am the user who actually requested for this particular meeting room, and these are the participants. Okay, on what date do you want to book this particular meeting room on? So let's just try to configure it again, configure the table and give it the required date. So going back, creating one more dictionary entry or the field, and this field type will be date time, and yeah, give it a name of start date. It will take the name automatically and do a save. Similarly, create one more field which will be the end date. So we created 1, 2, 3, 4 new fields we've created manually. This will also be a date type. ठीक है. Save. So now this meeting room application, you can just go from here also, create a new record. You can say I can select the start date and I can also select the end date. Start date and end date time. So this is a very small application that we have created. Can be useful if anyone wants to use it. So requested for is the person who is actually requesting them. Meeting room participants start date and end date. We are not making anything mandatory because almost all of the fields, all these fields are mandatory because yeah, you need all of these field values to actually save. You can select the date also, the time also, and everything, and select the members from here. This is a glide list type, data type or field type. So any more thing you want me to add in this table, we can quickly add any new feature or any new option or any new choices. I want you guys to add another choice, which is second floor 2. Please quickly guide me how I can edit it. I want to add a new meeting room in the meeting room choice list, which is second floor 2. To do that, I can either go to configure dictionary or configure choices. Let's just go by the fundamental method, which is configure dictionary. And similarly, you can see I can go to the choices and I can add another choices over here. So I'm not going to add right now. Okay, so now one thing is yep. So you see, I am able to create some meeting rooms records. I can select everything and some things, but I don't see, I want a number, something like this, which is meeting room 001 or meeting room 002. How can I do that? To do that, actually, I need to go either edit the application or edit the module, or no, I will just directly go and configure the table. Actually, right click, configure table, and I will try to add one more field in this particular table, or one more setting I will try to make a change into it, which will allow me to give it the number. So if you go to the table configuration actually and go into controls, you can see auto number is there. So this is the auto numbering definition sequential. You can click on this. You can give it your specific prefix. Let's say I'm trying to give it yeah, meet, MEET, and the number, how many zeros you want and how many digits you want in it. Let's say give it a 100 only, and digits will be 3, no 4. So if I now try to save it, so any new record in meeting room will actually be auto numbered with the prefix of meet. So now if you try to go to meeting room application and create a new record, you will see this particular number field is automatically added. Whenever you try to create a record, let's say I created one, obviously there should be,
So to identify the records, it will be useful. Like
correct, it will be, yeah,
incidents in the particular net.
exactly. So you can identify the meeting, the number meet 0102 was actually booked by this particular person. These are the participants, this is the meeting room and booked for this particular start and end time. So that's how auto numbering is actually. So to apply auto number, again, same thing, go back to the configure table application, not required. This is also not required. Directly go to configure and configure the table in the controls, you can able to see other options also. So one more interesting thing, we have created fields. Some fields are auto created, some fields are manually created by users. Control, if you look at them carefully, extensible. So if you want to make this table be extensible, or other users can other users are creating new different tables, they can take or extend these fields. So you can make this table as extendable. So any new user who is trying to create a similar table or similar application that will be majorly using these 4 5 fields, they can extend this particular table or this behavior. You can select this option, so from next time this table can be extended, right? Live feed is somewhat a flag to determine if live feed should be enabled for this table. I don't know what is this, I will check. This is not at all majorly used, so that's why I don't. ACLs are the users who will be able to access this particular application. So users with this particular role, whenever you will create a table, a new user role will be created. So you guys were
By
aware,
default.
yeah, by default it will be created, and these are the controls that will be created. This particular a user with this particular user role will be able to create, delete, read, and write. So if we try to impersonate with a different user, which was user 8 9 or something, let's say user 8 or 9, we try to impersonate user 10, this particular user will not have access to this application even from the left hand navigator or something, or even if I try to go directly, he will not be able to access it because that particular user doesn't have that particular role. Close, not required. Try to search meeting room application, he will not be able to see it because he doesn't have the privilege, or he doesn't contain that role. So again, going to the user, sys underscore user dot list, and trying to give the role to this particular user 10. Now go to user, or either we can go, yeah, let's now try to give this particular role to this group itself. So all of the members into this group will have this particular role. Which role? The role meeting room. Mm, star meeting, if we have something. Yeah, you meeting room user, if we try to give this role to this group, so all of the members of this group will now have this role, will now be able to see, create, read, and delete, and everything that they want to. Now impersonating this user 10 again. Close. And now you can see he is able to see the meeting room application, and he can create the records. So that's how you actually give the permissions, and that's how you should give the permission for a specific application. This application is currently meeting room. Ending the impersonation and leaving it to you guys, to whatever the way you want to change the look and feel of this form, rearrange the fields and whatever you want to use. Let's say go to meeting room again, open any of the record, and either you can go for form designer, either you can go for form builder or form layout. Rearrange it, number should be on top, and yeah, everything else is fine. Or you can play around whatever you want to. So let's try to do it with form builder now. Simple drag and drop will be utilized. Yep, over here. So number is on top, and this guy, you can add below or add above, you can delete it. Same thing, it's like form designer only. You can bring up new fields and create a field from here and do a save. You can also do preview, whatever you want to, and make some things mandatory read only directly from here. This is the same thing, and you can also create UI policies. Wow, that I have seen right now, and more properties which are available. Go to the full dictionary entry, and yeah, we're back on the configure dictionary page of this particular table. No, this particular field actually, U number. So whenever you configure the dictionary, select any field. Let's say I'm trying to select this field. you can go to the full dictionary of that field. Now we're looking at the dictionary of this, the selection of the meeting room, which is ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor. So this is basic and simple. You can play around with it. One more thing I want you guys to look at it is the flaw in this application currently is I am a user. I requested for, let's say myself, I'm a user 10, I requested for myself or user 1. I selected the meeting room. I selected the participants also. Start date, I selected, let's say I selected 19th today. End date, I selected 10. This is technically not possible. He's starting the meeting room at 19th of May and ending it at 10th. So the question is, now the business comes to you and says, I don't want the end user to select these incorrect dates. Please refrain the user from selecting them. How will you actually do that? So date field is, you can directly go and configure these date fields, or you can also configure the UI policies or no, you will configure the client scripts also, or anything you want to do. You can do it. Let's say the requirement is the end date should not be less than the start date. So go to, let's just try to do this with UI policy only first. If it is possible, we can, or we can then try to write a client script. But still, if you can do something with options and configurations, please go ahead and don't write a script. So the condition is if end date, why this is giving you these options, because it is taking these options from this table. That's why it is, giving you all those options. Only these fields are present. So if end date is less than 0 hours before start date, what you'll have to do is right click and save. We've built one condition. And do we have to write the script? Okay. Yeah, let's just write a small one. If end date is less than start date, then put up a error message saying the same thing. Let's see if this runs. So I'm saving this right now.
And we need to apply that controls, otherwise it will run.
Sorry, apply what?
Uh, that controls. So otherwise it will run on all our incidents changes also.
No, it will not, because we are specifically writing this UI policy on this particular table only.
Okay.
And this table is also not inherited from the base task table. So it will not impact other tables. So we just created it without inheriting. So let's just see whether we can actually implement this or not. So if start date is 19th and end date is somewhat lesser than this, we're not seeing it. Okay, probably some conditions issue, or I have not built the conditions correctly. Yeah. Mm. Or if somewhat end dates this is not working, you can directly go and write the script I will show you. This is now saved. Meeting rooms. No, we're not getting it. Removing this filter right now. What is the name of the start date field? It is u underscore start date, right? U underscore start date. Copy this. So getting the value of this field, saving it in start date, and same thing, u underscore end date. Just giving it a variable name. And if end date is less than start date, then please give this error message. Getting the value of this field, comparing them like this and showing an error message. This is very simple actually, it should now work. Okay, reloading it again, just in case. Start date is 23, end date is 4. Why? We have this. At the time of saving it is coming. No. Yeah, we have it now. So let's create another record. Start date is 31. If anyone is saying something, I'm not able to listen. Please speak a little louder.
Maybe on selection of end date we need to say on loading of end date.
Yep. So what is happening is if you select end date first. Oops. So this is also one of the way of creating a new record. You can just directly change the URL to this one. And let's just select end date first. 24th is the end date. And select this guy as 11. It will. Okay, at the time of only saving it is
This
doing
condition
it.
is right.
Sorry, what?
So the condition which you mentioned, it is right. Start date is less than the
Yes,
end.
I have written end date is less than the start date.
Okay.
The condition is right. You're absolutely right.
Right.
So let's select end date first, 4, and select start date as 31, and you will
Right.
see the error
No.
at the time of saving. Yeah. Okay. This condition is somewhat working, but it should be working instantly. To I understood why it is not working. Let me just grab this thing completely copied and delete. I will write an on change client script. So, yeah. Why it is not working as expected? Because on the change of this value, we want to write this script. I will show you what I am talking about. So if you directly go and configure client script, configure the client scripts. So client scripts are of three types. I will explain you what are these types. So come up, please. So the name is date validation running on U meeting room table, and UI type, it should be running on everything, desktop, mobile, and everything. The type of this will be on change, and this is the on change script will come up. What field which you want to work on? So I want to work on end date field. Whenever a value changes for end date field, this particular script should be working. So I have pasted this. I checked, okay, whenever end date will be changed, I will grab the value of start date, grab the value of end date, and compare these value. If that is lesser, it will actually do an instant error message over there. So now it will happen. Let me create a new record. So this is a new meeting room record. I come up, I change it, I made it 19th and change the end date to 3. And as soon as I selected, it is showing us the message. Why? Because whenever this particular field is changed, it will show you the message. Let's say I now select 31. This message will never be shown. So let's say I again select 6, which is a lesser value. It will again show you message. But if you cancel this out and select another value which is a greater than, it will never show you. So on change will actually work on change of a particular field value. Yeah, and I was actually wrong. This should not have been done using UI policy. This should every time be done using a client script. So coming to this part, you have created this. Now I'm trying to
In the UI policy, can't we make us like we have written function on condition, right?
on
Instead of
condition,
that,
yes.
can't we write as on change? On
No,
change?
no, it will not work because on change is a type of client script. This function will only run. This on change function will only run whenever you are actually running a client script. It will not run when you run a UI
Okay.
policy.
So UI policies are only for the conditions, and if I want to do on change on load, we have to use the client
Correct,
script.
correct. So now coming to the client script, what are client scripts? And so I'll give you a little overview. We only have 10 minutes. So basically, there are two things in ServiceNow, which is one is client side, one is server side. So as the name mentions, whatever is happening on this client level, client is what? Client is a browser. Whatever is happening on the browser level will be considered as a client side, and whatever is happening on the back end on the database level, let's say this is happening, the fetching of the value is actually coming from the table, sys user table. So it can be 639 values, in some time it can be two values, hundreds, 500s, or anything. So whatever the values are coming, these are coming from the server side. So there are two types. Anything that is running on this particular uh, client level, you can see and you can make changes on or anything, will be considered as client side. And client side only, how would I actually explain you, is only applicable on the browser level, but server side is applicable on the browser and also on the server level. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say you have created one, uh, okay, yeah, we have created this on change client script, right? So this says we are not at all able to save any value which is actually lesser than this one. So this gave us the error, and it will not allow you to save this particular thing because we are doing it on the client, on the browser level. But it will not give you the error if we try to make this particular change on the backend level, or some integration makes the change, or some server thing makes the change, or some business rule makes it the change. So let me go back and bring these values. So this is the meeting room table, start date and end date and meeting number. These four things I want the number to be on top and start date to like this. Okay, so this is the list. We were getting the error when we had the value of start date or end date in such a sequence of validation. So let's say I now give the value of start date to 1. and do a save. And now give, sorry, end date to 1 and do a save and give a start date to 24. It will not give me an error because that particular validation or the script was only written on client level. As the name suggests, it was a client script. So it only works on browser level. But anything you want to change it from the server side. So I'm making a change over here on the list view. I'm not making the change on the form. I'm making the change of the on the list, or anything that changes the value of some record from backend, from server side, or from some integrations, or from some business rules, or from some flow design or anything, then it will not be applicable. To do that, we'll have to write some server side scripting. So to understand what some client side things are, it is UI policy. uh, Client script itself is a client side because the name says so. These things works on client side. UI policy, client script, yeah, these two. And what are server side things? Server side is a data policy. I will show you the difference of what is the difference between a UI and a data policy. And script include business rules, workflow, flow designer, integration, or anything that is actually trying to come from the server. So only UI policy and client scripts will be considered as a client side type of scripting, and these things will be considered as a server side type of scripting. What I meant to say is, let's say if I have written this particular client script or data policy, it will only be available or checking the validation on the browser level. But if I make it as a data policy, let's say, okay, let's say I want to make this meeting room field mandatory. So guys, how will you actually make this mandatory? You will go configure dictionary. The simplest way is this only: configure the dictionary and make this guy mandatory, because this is only impacting on meeting room table, and make this guy mandatory. So we are making this mandatory from the dictionary side. So please refrain yourself from making things mandatory like this, because this is good for the teaching or training purpose, but it is not at all good making things mandatory from dictionary level. It is always necessary, or always suggested to make things mandatory or read only using the client side methodology. So we have made this thing mandatory, and we cannot save the form without saving this thing. So this thing is not filled, and it will not allow you to actually save it. It will say this thing is mandatory. But this is not only working on client side, it is actually also working on server side. Why and how? Let me show you. Meeting rooms. If I click one meeting room and I try to yeah, I try to save this record. I'm trying to make a change in this particular date. Let's say I've made a change over here, and I'm not filling this particular thing. This is saying following mandatory fields are not filled, meeting room. So this has been implemented on the server side or the server level. So even from somewhere you're trying to come up and make a change, and that change you want to refrain anyone, not even the integration, not other things can actually bypass that. Then you will actually write something which is of server side. So the dictionary thing is actually a server side thing, which will not at all allow you to leave this thing on form, and not at all allow you to leave this thing on the server level itself. Let's say, mm, from the server level, how I should say is, let me explain you. Scripts. I have 3 minutes. I hope I can make it. I am trying to write one glide record, guys. Uh, yeah, I'm writing this glide record on this particular table, and
What is this glide record?
I will explain you. Glide record is basically a SQL kind of code which will allow you to make the changes in the particular table's record. So let's say I'm trying to work on um, meeting room number. Let's say I've saved this thing, or let me create one. Leave. Meeting room number 18 is I'm trying to fill. Start date is this and date is this. Obviously, this will not allow me because the validation is in place. 31. And I have selected the requested for as this particular user, and the participant is this guy. And I have saved this record. So I have copied this number. I'm coming to the slide record and I said where number is my specific number, this guy, and query. And if I find the record, please try to change the end date. Okay, go ahead and conf you end date is this guy. Mm, So instead of this value, I will now try to give it the value of 28. So what I'm doing is I'm going to the meeting room table, finding a record with this number 118. This record I'm trying to change on, and I'm querying this. If I find this particular record, please set this and do what? This should be gr. I will explain you this in later class, gr.update. But what I'm actually trying to show you is the concept of client side and server side. Okay, I run this script. It will find meeting record number 18 and change the value of the end date from 31 to 28 from backend or from server side. You see, if I now run this query and reload this page, you will see this particular value will update. Yeah, it got updated. Oh, the value is this only. I need to do something else. Let's say I go to this user. Instead of making it this guy, I make it this guy. And I try to open this, copy the sys. Instead of making a change over here, u underscore requested for. Okay, let's just try this one now. Refreshing this record is not saved. This record contains meeting number 118. Yes. The requested for is currently user 1, and I will now try to change the requested for to currently user 2, and I will change it to user 1 from backend. So I have changed it. 1 is updated, and hey, why man? Is it creating a new record? This is weird.
Can we put breakpoint here or no?
Yes, we can. Yeah, it got updated. Okay, so sorry, my bad. So this record previously had user 2 and now it has the value of user 1. Let me do it again. So I'm trying to save this guy, and the condition is I'm making this thing empty right now. Uh, okay, let me just select one value. Definitely I cannot do it like this. Or let's just, if I try to make a change and make this meeting room as empty, u underscore meeting room value. So what I'm trying to do is I'm fetching this record. Oh man, that code went off. We'll have to do gr.get again. Get for this particular value. We are obviously late. Set value of one particular thing. U underscore requested for one value. I'm changing to something else. Let's say user one. And the second value I'm trying to change is gr.set value of the second field, which is meeting room, u underscore meeting room. And I'm trying to change it as empty. So what I'm doing is on this meeting room record, I'm trying to go and find this particular record, which is 118, changing the value of requested for from user 2 to now user 1. It is not saved, you can see it is only user 2 right now. And also changing the u underscore meeting room value to empty. Currently it is uh, gf1, ground floor 1. But if I try to even make it from backend, try to make it empty and save the record, it will not allow me to save because we have the dictionary item ready and I have made it empty. Oh man, it became empty. Okay, sorry, my bad. Maybe I'm having a very bad day today. uh, we will try to work on these client scripts and server side scripts tomorrow, and I will explain you thoroughly what is happening actually. Something is not allowing you to make a change on client level, another thing is not allowing you to actually make a change either on client level or on server side level. uh, Please try to create this particular table, which is meeting room, in your own instance. Try to work with these conditions, start date and end date validations, and make some things mandatory and non-mandatory according to your choice. So this is for today's class. Mm, I will try to correct some things in this dictionary level. Okay, so any questions for today? Yeah, we have so many. Even myself, I'm having so many. Why it is not actually working? But apart from this, any questions on creating the table and creating the fields?
Gaurav. Hello, Gaurav.
Yes,
I am Shiv Sai. I am new to the session. I have a few doubts regarding this course. Can I ask you?
yes, you can, sure.
I think you covered this course of both CSA and CSD completely.
Mhm.
You will cover the content of CSA and CSD.
CSA and CAD. So the
CAD,
basic, yeah, basic administration and development.
CAD also completely.
Yes, we will cover the development thing.
Uh,
But see, preparation
the
of the certificates is probably not covered in this because CAD is itself a very complex certificate to pass the exam for. So to confirm all these things, you please connect with Prasad. But yeah, basic development and JavaScripts and basic administrations we will cover definitely in this course. And
and
whatever the real case scenarios we can cover.
You mean you completely covered CSA and some topics in CST you covered.
CAD,
Am I right?
yes, we will cover.
Where I can find the remaining topics?
Mm, so you can ask Prasad for the remaining topics that we have, the topics that we have covered up until now, and the remaining topics that we will be covering in next classes.
Not like that. I am asking where I can find that resource, either online or any other
No,
platform. Y- You don't know?
no, the topics that we will going to be covering in this class.
I am asking about the remaining topics. What we are not covering in this session.
That list is with Prasad. You can ask for that particular document, and he will
Oh,
share with you.
okay. Is there any mock test to practice for CSA?
Yes, there are some that are with Prasad. So there are some of the mock tests also, and some dumps also that he will provide that will be helpful in clearing the exams.
So it is completely objective exam, Gaurav?
It is objective, yes.
Okay. Can you suggest
Then
any
compared to
book?
CST, CSA is easy one.
CSS is particularly easy, and
Okay.
CAD, which is Certified Application Developer, is a
Okay.
little bit complex. But yeah, after completing this course,
Okay.
you will definitely be able to clear it.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Can you suggest any reference book for CSA and CST?
The reference is basically the ServiceNow website. You can go and complete the course from there, because yeah, it is actually mandatory for everyone, even a guy has dumps or not, or has even the vouchers or not. They will have to go through the course content first on the ServiceNow website. They'll have
Okay.
to clear that, complete that, pass its test, and then they will get their voucher, and then they can write the exams.
Okay.
Everything will be coming from nowlearning.servicenow.com.
Okay.
This is, everyone will have to go through it. Even if someone is experienced or fresher, they will have to go to this website, learn it, and then they can do it. But yeah, this is a little bit complex and a lengthy learning process, what we are learning right now. You can connect with Prasad for this. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. We'll meet tomorrow. Bye bye.